Good morning. Thank you, Marie. That's a lovely song. God is watching us. Maybe from not so much of a distance as we might think. So, I'd like to start off by asking a couple of questions. Who here uses technology, computer on a daily basis? Yeah. How about 2-3 times a week? At least use a smartphone or an iPhone, bank machine. I think we covered everybody. Excellent. So we can pretty much determine that our technology is everywhere. Just about everyone uses some form of technology to some degree or other, daily or semi-daily basis, so we all agree on that. In fact, today we are connected by technology in ways that we never would have imagined possible even 30 short years ago. I mean, I see it all day long, walking down the street, and everyone's got these little devices. I know I do it. Yeah. Okay. Well, is that a scary prospect? Is it scary to have all this technology? Yeah. It kind of is. It kind of isn't. It does have some scary parts to it. The advantage is that we've never been so connected to people all around the world as we are today. And at the same time, we've never been so isolated being stuck in front of our screens. It's kind of like this connection, but it's like a pseudo connection, right? So there are two sides to it. And we could see the most amazing creative images and videos and inspirational articles, but at the same time, we're also subject to the darkest of human depravity when we connect with this technology. It's a mixed bag, and it's really hard to see where it's all going to go. Yeah, there's our networking. It's kind of like we're all individual, we're kind of connected, it's a little disjointed at the same time. Maybe some insight can be found in a quote by Herbert Simon, who was a professor at Carnegie Mellon University, and his research ranged across the fields of cognitive psychology, cognitive science, computer science, philosophy of science, sociology, and a few other areas. And he said, "There are no morals about technology at all. Technology expands our way of thinking about things, expands our ways of doing things. If we're bad people, we use technology for bad purposes. And if we're good people, we use it for good purposes." I have no idea if that's how he sounds like, but that's what I got for you. So it really depends on how you and I use our computers, but more importantly, the direction of technology in our lives relies on the degree that we awaken to the truth of our being spiritually, because that is going to be the driver, the driving force. Okay, so the purpose of this talk today is to offer you a technological perspective on a spiritual subject. My desire for you today is that when you look at your technology, and I'm just encompassing all the computers and technology from this point forth, that it will serve to remind you the truth of who you are and how powerful you really are. That's the intention I'm going in with today. So, hello. My name is Dre Levac. And as many of you know, I am the audiovisual team leader here at the Center for Inspired Living. And I'm also a computer tech at Camosun College. And okay, I'll admit it, I'm a bit of a geek. Yeah. But if you don't mind, I'll tell you a little bit more about me so that you know where I'm coming from. Does that sound fair? Is that okay with that? Okay. So let's go back 30 years. I was 17 years old, and it was my graduating year at high school, 1984, and I met my first love, the IBM PC. It was just released that year, and my school was progressive enough to acquire 8 of those beauties. She was adorable. Unlike this one here, she glowed amber. And in the last 6 months of that high school year, I spent many a date night in the computer lab getting to know her. But then when school was over, I was crushed. I was crushed because I didn't have a computer of my own, and I couldn't take computer science in college at the time because I was 2 years behind in math, and I hated the subject, couldn't stand math. So I chose to go off on my own and discover the business side of computers and go into the business world. In and around the same time, or at least within a few years anyway, I took my first personal growth workshop called Mind Power by John Kehoe. Now, using the principles I learned, very inconsistently I might add, it took me 5 years to manifest my first computer in my life. And that was the first step in a larger world and a road less traveled that I've been on for the last 30 years. So, if I look at my life based on my past, there's definitely a focus on technology as well as personal and spiritual growth. And I believe that that's why I'm being called to bridge the gap between spirituality and technology. As a computer tech, I've come to see more and more about how much technology is like us. It's not surprising. I mean, collectively, we created these machines. I mean, not you individually, but us as a collective, we created this technology. And I would even dare say that we created our technology in our likeness and image. I know that the computer analogy has been used by trainers and teachers over the years. I'm not the first one to bring this about. But being more technically minded, I can share a more thorough perspective, including some additional interesting observations that I've made. So, I realize that some of you are not that technically oriented, and you're probably thinking when I'm mentioning all this technology, there we go, now we got the arg. Take a deep breath, Shannon, it's okay. Let me assure you that I totally understand, and I'll do my best to keep the jargon out of it, and perhaps you'll find an interesting thing or two you'll learn along the way. Is that all right? Yes. Excellent. Okay, so let's start with our hardware. There we go. There's the average computer system. Since we built these computers to mimic us, to be extensions of us, we've given them everything that is required to input data. Our technology uses human interface devices to take in the world around it. You and I, of course, use our senses. How many senses we got? Yeah, well, if we don't count the 6 stuff. But in the physical world, 5 senses. I'm just going to use the word computers to encompass all the technology, laptops, smartphones, tablets, iPads, all the like, okay? Our computers come with a webcam, right? That was the coolest one I could find. It looked like an eyeball. I said, oh, that's freaky. And that's how our technology sees or inputs visual data. A computer has a webcam. What about you and I? Yay, we're blessed with dual webcams. Look at that. 2 webcams. It gives us the benefit of depth perception, try to say that 5 times fast, and the ability to see in our world about 10 million different colors. That's pretty impressive, amongst other things. Next, our computers have a microphone to input all of our audio information. Us, we got ears, 2 of them. Graciously, the ears not only give us the ability to hear the world around us, but it also, by having 2 of them like that, I found we can tell where the sound's coming from. Isn't that cool? All right, well, then there's speakers. Notice that. Computer has 2 speakers. Sure, we give the technology 2 speakers. What about us humans? We only have 1. We only have 1. Thankfully, I know Probably a few of you would wish you had too. That way you could talk and eat at the same time. Yeah, admit it. Yeah. All right, well, the obvious senses that the computers don't really have is smell and taste. Although the technology for this does exist to some extent, but the practicality of it has not really presented itself as of yet. So in its place, because of its relevance, is that I will liken our keyboards to reading and writing skills, right? And that's how we input our text-based data. And then finally, our sense of touch. Now, okay, our computers don't even come close to comparing what we do in the spectrum of human biological computer sense of touch. That's what I'm going to refer to you as a human biological computer. However, with our technology, mouse and touch screens now, notice more computers have touch screens, that offers us a tactile way of telling our computers what to do through gesture, and it inputs data through movement and pushing buttons. How many of you are good at pushing buttons?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I bet. But seriously, you and I feel our way through our world, interacting with objects and people in a very tactile way. Our senses are designed to help us navigate the physical part of our reality. So far, so good? You all with me? Okay, so now that we know how the data gets into your computer, how do you know what's going on in your personal system? Can you tell just by looking at the computer? No? The only way you can tell what's currently running on your computer is by looking at what? Your monitor. That's right. Well, here's the thing. Your monitor represents your life. And it displays what's currently going on with you, whatever's in the forefront. And only you can see it. And that's because some of us have those privacy screens where you can't see it if you're off at an angle. We're just looking at it straight on, right? But we wouldn't want other people to look at it. But some people can see our monitors kind of good when they get to know us a little bit. Yes? What'd you think? Scary? All right, so we have all these components and devices, but in order for any of them to work, what do they need to be connected to? Aha, a lot of people call it the hard drive. It's very interesting. And it's not inaccurate, it's just not the whole story. The computer itself, it's the actual computer. The hard drive is contained within the computer. We're going to get to that in a moment. So none of it would function if it wasn't plugged into the computer, correct? So now us techies lovingly call this part the box. And you know, just like the universe, the box contains mostly empty space. Yet everything happens within it. Your senses would be non-existent if you didn't have your biological computer to input and process the information from your environment, correct? All right, so now let's take a closer look at what's inside the box. Okay, the first component I'll talk about is the power supply. Without a power supply, nothing works because, like anything, technology requires power to function. You also require energy and power to function. And what would you say is your power supply? Any guesses? Chocolate. Of course. Okay, your power supply is your heart. Your heart is your power supply. Did you know that your heart emits 40 to 60 times more energy than your brain? Yeah, it is what powers all of your circuitry, all of your components in your body. And where does it get its power from? The source. It gets the power from the source. Your heart is the first thing to form when you're just a little seed thing growing. The heart's the first thing to grow there. And I keep losing my spot. Oh yeah, So it's plugged into the source. It's directly connected to the universal unlimited power of all that is. Here we go. Yeah, so another thing we find inside the box is our processor, or CPU, Central Processing Unit, who cares? That takes all of the data that, that goes into your computer and processes it so that it's ready to be filed. And this would be your brain, which processes all the information you're exposed to on a daily basis. So the mind-brain needs the heart in order to function, but the heart doesn't need the brain to keep functioning. It's connected to its own power source, a part of something greater. And that's why the heart will keep pumping even if someone is in a coma or has brain damage, right? So the body will keep functioning. Here's this. Your heart's power supply and your brain's processing works hand in hand to create and bring meaning to your experience every day. You got that? So that means that this is where your spirit connects with your human biological technology to both create and experience your life. So the brain is, but the brain is just a processor. It needs somewhere to store the information that it has processed, right? What part of the computer would you say represents your mind? I say it can be found in your computer's memory. So there's two primary types of memory in your computer. Does anyone want to take a stab at what they are? RAM, thank you. RAM is the first one, and it's a smaller amount of memory, and it's measured in amounts like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16 gigabytes, okay? And that's what a RAM chip looks like in your computer. It's the smaller one. Now, the RAM represents your conscious mind, and the common analogy that we've all heard is that the conscious mind is about 10% of our mind. You all agree with that? RAM works similarly to the conscious mind in the fact that it only functions when the computer is awake and operational. It's empty when the computer's asleep or turned off. And when you and I are out and about and are living our daily lives, we operate out of our RAM, or our waking consciousness. So your daily thinking, figuring out what you're going to have for dinner, where you're going to go, what you're going to do in the day, that all takes place in your biological computer's RAM, or waking consciousness. So what's the, what is the other form of memory that is in your computer? Hard drive. Thank you. You guys are awesome. We got smart cookies. I like cookies. Smart cookies in the here today. Thank you. All right, so you got the picture of the hard drive. That's the other form of the hard drive. The hard drive is a much larger amount of memory, and it's measured in larger quantities, like 160 gigabytes, 340 gigabytes, 500, 1 terabyte. And I know these numbers might not mean much to you. I'll try and explain that a little later on. But unlike the RAM, this memory is retained even when your computer is asleep or turned off. It retains everything and it takes it all in. And our computer's hard drive represents the subconscious mind, which is 90% of the other 90% of our mind. Good with that? The important part to remember is that the RAM is a really small amount of memory, and it represents our conscious mind, and the subconscious mind is represented by the hard drive, which is the larger amount of memory. And the subconscious is a vast amount of storage, so large we can't imagine. And that's where everything that we experience gets stored, and we haven't even got a clue. Our biocomputers are so astounding, taking in 400 billion bits of information every second. Everything from your environment. So if you're looking here, everything from the textures to the colors to the lighting to all of the nuances is all taken in by your subconscious like that. However, your conscious mind can only process about 2,000 bits of information per second. So, based on that, do you think that we're missing out on most of what's going on in life just by relying on the input of our senses? Of course we are. So, our human hard drives take in everything, every moment, every day, and it says yes to everything that comes in, unless there's a conflicting programming on your hard drive that dismisses it. Okay? Have you ever found yourself making a bad decision about something when you know that in your mind that you really shouldn't be doing that? No, I'm the only one. Okay, fine. I'll confess. When I'm at the grocery store, I do my best to make healthy food choices. So then why do I grab the donut to munch on while I'm finished my shopping? Consciously, I know it's not good for me. However, I think it's because I have that Homer Simpson program running in the background, and I'm shopping when I'm hungry. Don't do that. It's not a good idea. Okay. Again, Shannon? Thank you. All right, so what I'm trying to say here, this is the important part. What I'm trying to say here is that your biological hard drive, that's your subconscious, takes in all of this information from your environment, coming in from your senses, processes it and filters it through the existing programming you currently have running in the background. Then it outputs the resulting thoughts into your RAM memory, your waking consciousness. Then your body reacts and it produces a feeling within you. Did you get that? Yeah, you take it in. You think that, oh yeah, I'm thinking all of these thoughts. Really, you're taking in the data, processing, filtered, then you think it. Then you feel it. And then if you feel it, it's very easy to believe that that's true, a reality. I was thinking about the donut. So I'm shopping, I'm hungry, I see the donut, I walk on past. I told myself it's not a good idea. My brain processes based on past experiences. I do like donuts. My programming tells me I'm hungry. I smell the donut. My thoughts about how good it would taste floods into my mind. And if I'm not being conscious, then on the second or third pass, I pick up the stupid donut and I eat it. All right? And this is really powerful because your human biological computer runs on automatically based on your BS, your belief systems. And your belief systems were developed either through an intense emotional experience or through repetition of an experience, right? So, picture this. You're in a bank. The bank gets robbed while you're in there. You observe and feel the whole thing. Nobody gets hurt, but the experience is terrifying, okay? So next time you go into the branch of that bank, even though there isn't anything bad going on, no evidence of trouble, what do you think comes to mind? What do you think will come to your mind? Yeah, the experience, right? Yeah, to some degree or other, you will feel that experience again. And that's an example of an intense emotional experience that burns into our subconscious virtually instantly, okay? Now, a different example is, I don't know about you, I've been driving for about 30 years. Sure, a few of you have been driving for at least that long, if not longer, and we've developed some kind of degree of proficiency and automation to our driving skills, have we not? I mean, do you have to think about every turn and every maneuver? And no, you're aware of the people on the road, but got to watch out for them. Always got to watch out for them. But you don't have to think about putting on the seatbelt or turning on the turn signal or doing a three-point turn because it's automatic. And I've been driving, that's because I've been doing it for 30 years. And that's the same way that you and I were programmed when we were born, is just through that repetition. So when a computer's brand new and it's fresh and it hardly has any programs yet, it's fast, it's efficient, it does everything that it's supposed to do, right? Aren't they great? Then you start adding stuff to it. Well, our programmers, our parents or primary caregivers, provided us and downloaded us with our core operating system. And that's where we received the understanding of how the world worked, whether it was safe or not, whether we could trust or not. Our parents programmed everything in us by providing us stimuli that we absorb through our senses. And we learned not what the truth of how the world worked, just the understanding and perspectives based on the beliefs, words, and actions of the people who raised us. So being good little biological computers that we were, we took it all in, unquestioned, and formed our beliefs, many of which are still running today. Yes? Yes. All right. So bottom line is beliefs are programs. And like all things, there's programming that was instilled in us that has a positive impact on our life today, and programming that is that we received that produces negative consequences. And they're like the viruses and the malware. Ooh, don't like those. We all have our own personal set, though, don't we? I don't, because I'm a computer tech and I can fix that myself. If you believe that, I've got a blue bridge for you. Okay. So my point is that if you're not actively using your RAM consciousness, you'll automatically resort to the pre-programmed behavior that you're wired for. Make sense? Okay. So incidentally, just a little side note, computer tech info. If you want your computer to run better, have better performance, be faster, the fastest and easiest, cheapest way to do it is to maximize the amount of RAM that's in your computer. Tech tip. That's right. Well, guess what? It goes for you too. If you desire to lead a greater, more expanded, and aware life, the fastest way to achieve that is to increase your awareness and your consciousness. I'll tell you a little bit more about how to do that in a minute, or a few minutes. So, what I've shared with you so far makes sense. If that does, then you can see how our biological computers process data, run programs, powered by heart, managed and controlled by mind. It's easy to think and feel like we're our isolated own little box in our own little corner, wouldn't you say? I mean, if I look, I see you guys are all out there, and then there's me over here. It doesn't feel like there's a connection direct, right? Right. We're not disconnected, are we? You and I are part of a global network connecting each and every one of us. For all intents and purposes, it appears that we're individual, but the reality is we are divinely connected, just like our computers are connected to the internet. Our computers, we can unplug from the network. Us, not so much. You know that the cable that we use to connect computers to the internet is called Ethernet. You know that? And just like our computers, we are connected by an ethereal connection, a spiritual line that interconnects you and I on all of us together. And this is powerful because it means that even if we feel alone or it looks like we're alone, we're not. We're divinely connected. And we send and receive data between us, all of us, our whole, far beyond our human senses. We're tapped in at all times into a vast network of 7 billion human computers in consciousness and beyond. And what's interesting is that if you look at the way our networks are set up, wired, sure, our internet connections is by Ethernet, but we actually use fiber optics to send data through vast distances. We're talking the speed of light. It uses light to transmit data, and we are beings of light. How much is our technology like us? Very much. All right, so if you take a moment to think about the internet, isn't that what you see? A collective of human consciousness? Yeah, from the beauty and the amazing things that we see on the internet, and the pit of despair and the darkest of darkest clouds that cloud our human experience and our world today. So, all you have to do, being connected like that, to access your spiritual network is to consciously put in requests that allow the information or your answers to come back to you. This is a fascinating part, an innate ability that we have because we're connected to all that is. But I'm going to save that for either another talk or you can read up on it on my upcoming website. The last part I want to share with you, and it's what I consider to be the best part of everything I've shared with you today. I've alluded to it several times through the talk. We live in a world of duality, do we not? I mean, there's two sides to every story. Everything has an opposite. When we created our technology in our image and likeness, we embedded the concept of duality into its base language, and we call it binary code. And it looks like this: 0 and 1. Your computer uses these two numbers as the building blocks of all data that is input, stored, and output. And by stringing together a series of zeros and ones, it creates a pattern that we use to make sense of all the data that is in our computers. For example, this is what my name looks like in binary code. Yep. Next is my phone number in case you need to call for technical support. Good luck with that one. 0101. Hello? Hello? Dre? No? Okay. So, so a 0 or a 1 is called a bit. I'm going to get a little technical on you. So remember I said, what's all this gigabyte and terabyte stuff? I'll try and enlighten you a little bit. So a 0 or a 1 is called a bit. A string 8 bits together, like you see on the screen, and you see that you get a byte. And each byte is equal to one character, such as the letter A, or a space, or a backslash, or the number 1. Each of those is a string of 8 bits. So if we see here, 8 bits equals a byte or a character. 1,024 bytes is a kilobyte. So you can see 1,024 characters, it's not that much. 1,024 kilobytes is a megabyte. I'm sure you've heard that many times. 1,024 megabytes is a gigabyte. 1,024 gigabytes is a terabyte. That starts being large storage. Okay, so that's just the techie stuff. It's not that important. That was more of a, here, this is how your computer works kind of thing. But I am a geek after all. So the important thing to note is that the computer makes sense of all information using zeros and ones. Good? Yeah. We'll go back to the next slide. Not back, go forward to the next slide. Whereas we as human beings make sense of our lives based on the duality of the world that we live in. I mean, you can't know what a good day is if you don't know what a bad day is, right? Otherwise, it's just a day. And has no other meaning other than that. So, here is what I call the ultimate duality. And this is the punchline of this whole talk, so listen carefully. In our world of duality that you all agree we live in, if there is a you, then what is the opposite of you? Everything else. There is you and there is everything else. Everything. So, why is that so exciting? Because if you exist, there has to be an opposite. It's everything else. That means that you are co-creating everything in your life experience. What kind of power does that give you? All of it. Now, not from an egoic or, oh yeah, I'm so great, I'm creating everything perspective. No, this is the essence. This is the truth of who you are. So, if we apply the binary system to that, 0 is the circle of life. It's everything, yet it's nothing. It's pure potentiality from which everything is possible, and it's the container from which everything emerges. And if that's so, that means you're the one. You're the one. You are the one. You are the one creating your reality that you're experiencing every moment of every day, and you don't even realize you're doing it. One is intention, one is the direction of creativity, and it's the building block from which everything in our world is made manifest. So you can leave here today knowing that you're the one. You're the Neo. Have you seen The Matrix? You're a Neo. Whoa. And when did he start realizing his power? When he started to believe. Yes. You realize you're creating everything in your life, including your biological computer. To the gazillion stars and planets and moons that fill our universe. This is the truth of who you are. And you're not your biological computer. Not at all. Rather, you're the consciousness. You are the consciousness which you create your biocomputer and everything in your life and beyond. That's the truth of who you are. Consciousness. I think Yoda said it best. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. I spoke earlier about how to increase your biological RAM. So, you'll increase the amount of your RAM in direct proportion to your ability to accept that you're creating everything that you are, everything in your experience. Make sense? The more responsibility you take for your life, the greater the power you have access to when creating the life you desire. Not from an arrogant, egoic place, like I said before, but from the bigger picture that you are a divine creation made of the same stuff that created everything. So we've all heard the expression, we are all one. What does that even mean? We are one. Well, to me, you can go to the next slide, Shannon. To me, it means that the full experience of life is only experienced when you and I grasp that there's no separation between you, the observer, the one, and everything that you observe, or the zero. And it means I experience oneness when I consciously merge both sides of duality to look like that. That's called phi, by the way. It's a Greek symbol. And when you look at your technology from now on, remember that you are not your biological computer. It's as if, it's insanity. It's almost as if your computer were to think that it was you. That your computer is operating on its own and it thinks it's its own entity, going on Facebook and banking and all this interaction and all of that stuff, and it thinks that it's a living being. Don't make that mistake. Use your technology. Look at that saying, I'm not like that. I'm much more powerful. The essence of that powers, you are the essence that powers and has the ability to program your biological computer. So if you live day to day in routine, your biological computer is designed to keep running the same programs over and over again, and little in your life will change. If you use your technology for good, and I know you will, you'll produce good. And that goodness will come when you realize that you are not your body or your mind, but something much deeper and more profound. You're the power that runs through your body and your mind. You are consciousness. And this amazing biological computer of yours is your tool to experience life in time and space. So focus your consciousness and you will creatively reprogram yourself to be, do, or have anything that you desire and intend on. Okay? What a wonderful journey that is. Live creatively. Let's pray.